Okay, so we've got quite a packed agenda actually, so I know I'm sure people will be joining us, but my suggestion is we make a start. So welcome to this week's report out. 3 great presentations, so really looking forward to Holly and Elfie giving us updates on where they're up to, and then we have got the imaging transfers RPIW team there as well. So can we go straight over to Holly? Hi Holly, I can see you on the screen, so over to you.
Hi, thank you. Okay, so I'm Holly and I'm here to present back our review of our MMPS nursing team's Huddle board. Next slide, please. So the challenge or problem we faced as a team is that we had quite a large whiteboard. It had lots of information on, it had phone numbers on, it had equipment, it had projects, short-term and long-term, it had ideas on. It didn't really reflect our nursing team's yearly strategy, and it didn't really add any value to the work we were doing in the team. I was unaware of what other members of my team were facing with pressures with their work and what they were working to. There was no way of continuing the work we were doing if people were absent. So we couldn't pick up where people left off. We did huddle, but they were often quite lengthy. And at the end of the huddle, I didn't really feel there was a lot of value, or there was lots of unanswered questions. So my aim of my improvement project was to improve engagement within my team, reduce the time, and improve performance outcomes from our huddle. Next slide, please. So I initially carried out some timed observations for our huddles. On average, they were 30 minutes long, and there was no clear structure or plan of work from the huddle. I sent out some emotional metrics to my team members. Luckily, we're a small team and they were really engaged, but some of the feedback was that there was no backup to cover work if someone was absent. The board doesn't reflect what each of us are working on. We were working quite isolated of each other. It doesn't work as a communication tool. It was more of a notice board. It didn't really reflect the way we work now with the hybrid working. We work across site and sometimes from home. And there was no way of celebrating the work we did, and there was just no structure or deadlines. Next slide, please. So the outcome was that I split it into 2. I implemented a monthly people link meeting using a whiteboard, and that was on some feedback from the team that they wanted a bit of Teams and still a bit of an actual physical board. This mirrored our team strategy, so we could see what we were all working towards in the long term. And it had a Bravo board to celebrate success, so we could really champion what each other was doing as in the team, as well as some bigger successes within CSUs. I implemented a daily huddle using Teams, and this has worked really well and actually has changed how we work as a team. So now we can see what the whole team is working towards. We've got a colour coding of how people feel, so it kind of helps keep touching with people's health and well-being. So if they've got lots of work on, or if they're managing and can take a bit more on. We have a daily worry well, which is kind of like covering the rocks in our shoes. What do we need to make sure as a team we can continue? What asks are we having from other CSUs? So I feel like we're a lot more on top and a lot more aware of what we need to do. I redid the timed observation, and this was down to 8 to 10 minutes. And I also redid the emotional metrics. And my team were really engaged and really supportive of it, so they felt it brought some focus back. It was much more gave much more clarity for our workload, timescales, and communication, and it made them feel much more valued. Next slide, please. So this is the before and after. So you can see on the left is the before. It was a big whiteboard. It had lots of information on, and it had lots, like I said, lots of information, but didn't really have any structure. And afterwards, at the top is our people link board, which has our longer plans on and our longer trajectories that maybe doesn't need discussing every week, but we need it to know that everything's going to plan, and we know that we're all working towards the same thing. And then underneath is our daily huddle board, where we can see each other's buckets and we can see what everyone's working towards. Next slide, please. So what went well is my team were really engaged and really supportive of the idea. We were all really on board, which really helped. It ensures now that the work's consistent. So if we've got sickness or last minute leave, we can pick up where it is, and it has no impact on the rest of the CSU or the wider pharmacy, because we literally can cover each other's work. My manager and head of nursing now have assurances that we're working towards our team strategy. They can see our clear deadlines, and they can see our projects evolving as we go along, so they can see different stages of our projects. On our people links board, we have 3 team metrics that the team complete prior to the people link meeting. So it covers health and well-being as one consistent one each time, and quality of our training. And then we have a third that kind of changes as the year goes on, depending on what seasonal things we're covering as a team. Next slide, please. So what would I do differently? I wouldn't do too much differently. Like I said, my team were really engaged and really supportive of the change. My IT skills weren't the best, and I didn't really know how to set out a Teams board. It's something coming from a clinical background that I wasn't very familiar with. So then trying to set it up and teach my team had its issues now and then, but we managed to iron them out. Some of my key learning is ensuring that we keep the huddle to time and prioritise what needs to be discussed at Huddle. We have tried to assign different focuses to different days of the Huddle, because there's so much on, people are doing so much that we can't discuss everything every day. So we try and have a focus for each day. The next steps is to make sure it remains sustainable as we undergo changes within our team to make sure it continues. And we've expanded it and added in extra buckets on our Huddle to kind of cover staff support and like physical support in areas, so that we always know who's supporting which area, and we can keep tabs on kind of like where our support is as a team for the CSUs. So that's my quick whistle top 5-minute tour.
Fantastic, Holly. I'm going to keep us moving, but I think it's really wonderful. I'm sure there's lots of questions, and I think what's really great is recognizing the journey, the continuous improvement. So it's really tempting to say, oh, we've got a Huddle, and then just leave your Huddle in place. So the idea of continuously improving your Huddle, I think, is just fantastic to hear about. So big well done, really well done.
Thank you.
So hold your questions for Holly, and we'll come back, but we'll just go straight on to Elfie, who I think I'm sure I did see on the. Yes, there we are. Hi, Elfie.
Hi everyone. So jumping straight in. So I'm going to be talking about empowering change and keeping staff engaged in our shared decision-making councils. And the aim is to have at least 10 shared decision-making councils established within the first 12 months. Next slide, please. So the challenge here was implementing this initiative from the start. So shared decision-making councils launched in the Trust in July 2023, and this was off the back of the idea from the interim chief nurse to enhance organisational excellence. Shared decision making, just to give a very brief overview, means staff having collective ownership to develop and improve the practice. It empowers nurses, midwives and AHPs support staff to take ownership of a project, which is encouraging high quality patient care in the practice environment, whilst also developing skills, leadership skills, service improvement and professional development. Crucially, it ensures that patients receive care that's not only safe and reliable, but delivered with compassion and confidence. So we predicted a fair amount of interest at the beginning of this project. We adopted a phased waved approach, where we invited staff across the Trust to form or get involved in shared decision-making councils through an application process, so it's quite structured. This received an enthusiastic response, as you can see from the simple graph there. So we received 25 expressions of interest at that point, 14 of which went on to develop shared decision-making councils. However, you can see that by wave 2, so in October, which was our hard launch actually of the initiative, it took a dip down to 2. So we had 2 expressions of interest. Next slide, please. So of course, we wanted to understand the reasons for this. So I developed a fishbone diagram to try and understand the root cause and effect of this. And of course, unfortunately not got enough time to go through it. But we looked at the 4 key themes regarding our people, the processes that we were using, the environment, and the education and training that we were putting into this. And for the purposes of the presentation, we're focusing on the process, so the formality and the weighting. Next slide, please. So I presented this to our team, our core team, and together we asked the 5 whys, which you can see in the blue box there. This threw up a lot of key themes such as communication, staff not seeing the benefits and outcomes from the council, so addressing those mental valleys, preconceptions of a council. Can people really see the true benefit here? So considering the information, I suggested taking out the waved approach and creating a more streamlined process. So we compared 2 different process maps. So next slide, please. Now, obviously, this is extremely small. We can't see the content here, but if I can just draw your attention to the colours, you can see the initial process on the left-hand side, which the high-level process steps at the top in purple were 10 and reduced to 6 in the new streamlined process, taking out the waved approach. And you can see in the pink, we've got 5 defects there, which are the identified wastes around weighting and overproduction. In the new streamlined version, we have still got 2 defects there of weighting, but of course it's a PDSA approach and we're always looking at ways to improve, but I'm sure you can agree there's lots of good things there. Next slide, please. So the outcome, so just point 2 there. So we're removing that waved approach and it's proving really successful. We've got a steady stream of, on average, 2 new councils be created each month. And we've already surpassed our ambition of having 10 successful shared decision-making councils within the trust within the first 12 months. You might ask what makes it successful. So we do measure our work across the 5 domains with the support of the KPO team. But we also have a council health check or health check metrics, which are the councils meeting monthly, have half the council members attended, and is the next meeting planned. So if you just skip to the next slide, Rowan, please. You can see here at the bottom, I can just draw your attention to one of the metrics here that we measure, the amount of shared decision making councils actively meeting monthly. We set ourselves a reasonable target of 80%, and we're reaching 93 in our second quarter, which is excellent considering the time of year, operational pressures, etc. You can also see at the top left a line graph showing our projected growth over 2024, so over the 12-month period from our hard launch, and we're predicting to have 30 councils by October. So this has got us thinking about the sustainability of this project and what further resources we need to put in here. I'm going to leave the dashboard talk, unfortunately, because I think I'm running out of time. But this is another way of how we pull our metrics, how we keep that healthy competition between our councils, and how we reduce the over-processing and over-reporting of data. It's in a nice, clean, lean way. Next slide, please. So what went well with this? The shared decision making councils are steadily growing, and we're able to showcase and celebrate our council activity, which is a key part of the initiative, keeping that interest going, and hopefully will help the initiative to continue to grow and thrive. Next slide, please. What would we do differently? So having a clear communication strategy from the beginning. By asking those 5 whys, it brought up some questions around communication and the importance of that and getting staff involved in the promotion of the work. We're a true believer that, word of mouth is very powerful, and if people can see what others are doing, it'll make people want to get involved and have that sustained growth of the initiative. And I'm going to stop there. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, thanks, Alfie. Really good, and I love the fact that speaks really to our values around empowered and collaborative working, but also really good to see strong application of the method in what you've showed us as well. So great, and really good to kind of feel that engagement from staff and lots of learning. So again, hold questions if you would. So we'll go straight on to our RPIW colleagues.
Thanks, Phil. Hello everyone, my name's Katie. I'm an improvement specialist in the KPO team and I'm the workshop lead for this RPIW on timely imaging transfers. Next slide, please. So on this slide, we can see our project form where our sponsors set us the problem of improving the process of transferring patients from wards to Chancellor Radiology. There were wasted batching, waiting and non-value added tasks in the process that were leading to staff frustration and impacting on the patient experience. So we put together a team of experts from the process to take this work forward into the following RPIW week. Next slide, please.
Hello, my name is Catherine Essex-Jones. I'm an improvement specialist in the KPO team and I'm also team lead for this RPIW. So this is our target progress report. So it shows our targets for improvement in the process, which the sponsors and planning team agreed in the lead up to the event. We wanted to improve the lead time of the whole process. The baseline you can see there slightly differs in X-ray and ultrasound just due to some slight variation in the process. We also wanted to remove some of the defects from the process. So these were especially around the proportion of delayed requests. So when the porter is on job and their work gets delayed because they're looking for equipment or the patient's not ready on the ward. We also wanted to remove the defect of the allocation of the porter on carts being over 30 minutes. You can see there 17% and 25% respectively. So it's higher in Chancellor Wing Radiology than it is in the rest of St James's Hospital. We also were looking to improve staff and patient metrics in terms of how they rated the process. Next slide, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Dominique. I'm the Facilities Operational Manager for the Portering Service and I'm one of the process owners for this RPIW as well. This is a value stream map, which is a Leeds improvement method tool that illustrates the current state of the process and it shows the process from start to finish, and this has allowed us to identify waste along the way and look for opportunities for improvement. This first slide demonstrates the process within X-ray, and if you could just go to the next slide, please. Due to a slightly different way of working, there was a separate value stream map that was created for the ultrasound department. Next slide, please.
Hi everyone and thanks for having us. I'm Tom and I'm an improvement specialist who's been a part of the away team. The test that we conducted over 3 days was to gauge the time that it has taken to locate a wheelchair within Gledhow Wing over the time shown in the 3 audits on the slide. Also monitoring the presence at the same time of equipment in unofficial storage areas across Gledhow. What we wanted to see was if there was an improvement in search time if we allocated 2 slots during the day for a porter to return the equipment to the official holding areas. So we assigned a porter at 7 AM on Wednesday to spend 30 minutes retrieving and returning equipment. Initially, this appeared to yield significant improvements as evidenced by the time shown in Audit 3.
Hi, I'm James. I'm a porter here at St James's and part of the away team in this process. So after we had a quick look at the CAPS data, it did reveal a small discrepancy. It did show that Gledhow Wing at the time of the experiment had a below average job demand, while the other wings had above average demands, which obviously you can't really help. But it does suggest that the equipment was being used elsewhere. That sort of small setback didn't stop us. We have aimed to expand our data collection efforts to each wing in the hospital, providing better snapshots of equipment storage alongside the job workload. This should give us a better understanding and also manage the better distribution across the facility. From a porting point of view, we can take 2 or 3 hours a day looking for equipment. So 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, over a 3-month period. That's over 120 hours per porter. We have over 100 ports here. So there's a lot of waste there, I think, in terms of looking for equipment. If we had a better like a standard of work, which is something that we can look at as a porting team, I think it'll reduce the time looking for equipment, and that'll mean that we can move more patients to these guys down at radiology. Next slide, please.
Hello everyone, my name is Tara Pasha. I'm one of 3 team managers at X-Ray St James's and I am a process owner for this workshop. So data collected in the lead up to this workshop has demonstrated significant peaks and troughs in imaging demand, and we've seen a marked increase in demand at 2 PM every day. So we looked into this further and we discovered a significant defect in terms of batching of imaging requests. When we looked in this in more detail, we realised that imaging was being requested at the end of each ward round, and this was due to prioritisation of other tasks such as bloods and discharge tasks. This then results in multiple requests for imaging late morning, which in turn then leads to increased pressure on the radiology team in the afternoon, which again then there's a knock-on effect of overflow into the evening, causing further backlogs. With this, naturally, there was an increased demand for porters at this time. So what we did in response to that was we implemented a small test of change where we asked a single referrer from Gledhow Ward J12, and we selected a golden patient, and where we asked this referrer to request imaging within flow of that ward round. And we found that this patient was imaged much earlier in the day and not as part of that influx at 2 p.m. We then went back to the same referrer for feedback, and it was really positive. Firstly, there were no delays experienced whilst requesting within the ward round itself. And in fact, requesting was made much easier because essential patient information such as mode of transport, infection status, whether they require oxygen or IV was much more accessible. We also went back to the portering team for feedback. This was also positive as they were able to spread their workload throughout the day, levelling out demand and capacity. Next slide, please.
Hello, my name's Scott Walters. I'm one of the ultrasound coordinators here representing ultrasound as the away team. We were looking at introducing a couple of PDSAs to make the department more efficient. So what we've done at the moment is we've allocated dedicated time for requests to be vetted. We're going to have 2 slots, one at 7 a.m. as soon as the sonographers first start, because the ultrasound coordinators are not qualified sonographers, so we need to get his request vetted. So what that first change done is it saved the initial 20 minutes for the first 4-hour session. We're just having dedicated slots to be vetted. We're going to have 2 of those, one in the morning slots, one in the afternoon, because we get requests 24/7, but the department is not open 24/7. And then what we're going to do is implement a new booking plan to liaise directly with the wards, because sometimes the doctors are requesting ultrasound scans and they're not directly on the wards. So we have to make sure that we have that correct information to then reduce delays. So we just ensure that we've got the correct ward details, that the ward know that the appointment actually exists, any other information that we need to give them, such as prepping the patients for clear fluids, full bladders, explaining the importance of wristbands. And in the future, the department's also looking at the opportunity of adapting current outpatient commitments to better utilise inpatients for the capacity. Next slide, please.
Hi, I'm Marie. I'm senior radiographer working in X-ray at St James's, and I'm part of the away team. We created a PDSA to improve communication between the wards and X-ray due to the data provided by the team ahead of this week. The data was shown on this slide here, and it shows that the delays due to patients not being ready are having a huge impact on the portering job times, as well as wasted time being sent to the wards if it's then cancelled by the ward when they get there. The PDSA was implemented over a couple of days, and when compared to the 2 days prior, the results were really positive. X-ray staff would check the patient is with the ward and their mobility, or if needed, oxygen or IV or drip stands. Do they have a wristband on, and are they infectious? All done by a phone call, which was the only negative, would be not getting through to the wards. It also gives the wards a chance to cancel and lets them know that there is actually an X-ray to be done. Prior to the test to change, we found 10 delays in those 2 days that we looked at, 3 cancellations as well, when the porter had attended the ward and probably already spent about 20 minutes or so looking for a trolley. After our changes and added communication, the delays and cancelled jobs we managed to record as 0. It averted cancellation as well as patients being infectious, which would also entail delays within the department while they're with us. Next slide, please.
Hi, I'm Claire Placeley, nurse, part of the away team for this RPIW. So as Maria's previously discussed on the Pareto chart, the biggest delay was the patient not being ready. So this test of change was to address that with the TPR quality metrics. So how we came up with this idea was we had a guest speaker who currently works here at the trust, but attended the RPIW as their previous work was at a separate trust looking at patient flow. And within that job role, he'd implemented a transfer team, which had a positive effect on their flow. So what we did was we took this idea and tested it with 2 porters and 2 clinical staff
to transfer patients within radiology, and then on the 4th day we looked at looking at transfers across the hospital. We measured the time was taken to transfer patients and saw an improvement in the amount of patients being able to be transferred within that time compared to what our portal will be able to do alone. We saw a positive impact and results. The sub-lead time, baseline, as Kathleen mentioned, was 26 minutes. And on the first test of change, it was 13 minutes. And on the second test of change, it was 19 minutes. However, those patient transfers were slightly more complex. We also saw an improvement on patient feedback. That went from 7.87 to 10. An initial change saw an improvement in staff feedback. However, during the second test of change, due to pushing boundaries, we highlighted some more opportunities for improvement, and that led to a bit of frustration with staff feedback. Other benefits seen was the speed of the patient being ready correctly and clinical, and that was clinical staff being able to mitigate delay that the porter wouldn't be able to do. And there was less interruptions for ward staff, especially when we were attending the ward during nurses completing medication round. So next steps from this learning would be to have a set rules for the transfer team so the CADs can allocate staff to support patient flow more effectively and review what tasks the clinical staff were undertaking to assess what skill set would be needed for that role. Next slide, please.
Thanks. This is our TPR, which shows the impact of the tested change that we did during the week. We saw significant improvement across a lot of our metrics. Just to build on what Claire was saying about the sub-lead time, so we had this as another metric that we added because it was the boundaries were from when the job was allocated to the portal to the patient arriving at destination, and it kind of showed the impact of some of our tests change a bit more strongly. So you can see baseline was 26 minutes, and at the end we were down to 19 minutes, which is a 27% improvement. We also made some improvements to our delay rate, which was due to the transfer team, especially ensuring that patients were ready on ward, so those delays weren't happening. There is still some opportunity for improvement in terms of our allocation times for portering, but generally staff and patients were happy with the changes that we made to the process. Next slide, please.
So following the completion of the workshop this week, myself and the other process owners will be taking forward various actions and looking at continuous improvement. So some of the actions are listed here. So with regards to the delays to porters looking for equipment, we will be doing regular area clearances, and then we will scale that up to include all blocks and not just Gledhow that we tested this week. With regards to the patients not being ready, Marie and her team in X-ray will continue ringing the wards in advance of the patients going to X-ray and ultrasound to ensure that they are ready, and just checking information regarding the patient's transportation and any other specific requirements for the patient. With regards to the batching, the PDSA will continue for the golden patient, where the first patient of the day will be done in flow. And then again, we'll continue doing this on Gledhowing and then eventually upscale this to include all wards. With regards to ultrasound, they'll continue with their PDSA with the sonographers vetting twice a day. And then the next steps there will be looking to introduce a new SOP. And then again, with regards to the delays of the patients not being ready, we'll continue with the trials with the transfer team, do more data analysis to see which priority, which task and which departments can benefit the most from having this transfer team, and also review the CADing rules as well. Next slide, please.
So just to round up a bit of key learning from the week, a big part of this that's helped drive our improvement forward is walking in someone else's shoes. So the appreciation of going out and doing some of the someone else's role has really helped with the thinking of moving that forward. So a lot of systems thinking around how something small in one area can have such a big impact somewhere else, and that can also relate back to our doing a small test of change can also have a big impact somewhere else. So positive and negatives to that, but also not losing the patient perspective in what we're doing. Some of our tests of change, we've got very focused on the process. Bringing it back to that patient perspective has really helped move this improvement work forward. Next slide, please. And finally, we just have some thank yous. There's a lot of people that have inputted into this and helped us along the way. So thanks so much to all those people and anyone else that's had some input along the way. That's the end of our report out. Thanks.
Absolutely brilliant, guys. I mean, that was just really inspiring. It's been one of those real chestnuts, imaging transfers. It's been something that all organisations struggle with. So just to hear from all of you on the team. So first of all, just a massive well done and thank you for everybody taking part in that. Lovely to hear from each of you individually, and what was I'm just really inspired by the enthusiasm that you've all gripped the challenge with and working together to do that, just to kind of focus on how can we make this better for the people we serve. And actually, of course, as many of you picked up in your own day jobs, actually all the, as we call the rocks in your shoes, all the irritations you've all got in your bit of the pathway. So to work on that is just absolutely tremendous. So huge well done to that. Really love that. Really inspiring. Okay, so it's a pity we're on Teams, because actually it would just be good to be kind of all together in the room to kind of feel that sort of energy from you there. But I'm glad you're all together to do it and not dotted all in your individual spaces. So let's open it out. We've got a few minutes, couple of minutes for any questions or comments from anybody on 3 really brilliant presentations that we've heard today. Anybody got anything they want to come in? Michael.
Thanks, Phil. Just to echo your sentiments about the RPIW, the energy. I've been on the same corridor all week, and the energy has been fantastic. The collaborative working has been brilliant. I think the teams are really engaged in the process, which is so important, and from various different areas as well. So thank you, first of all. This has been a problem for radiology and for our facilities team for quite some time. So it's great that we've got that engagement and some hope, I suppose, that we've got a mechanism to try and deal with some of these issues. What you've uncovered is great. It's now, for me, is about sustainability of implementing some of those things, and we're going to be working on that as a team, aren't we? So just, yeah, massive thank you and well done.
Great, thanks, Michael. Thanks for that, James.
Yeah, just echo that. Really well done, guys. Brilliant to see the tests of change that you've managed to implement so far and the learning from and improvement from those. That's fantastic, and application of principles like inflow working. Really good to see the impact of that. So thank you. Elfie, fantastic presentation, and built on actually a presentation that we had at the Friday Focus meeting this morning, just showing how powerful the shared decision-making councils can be for supporting improvement for patients across the organisation. That's really great. And Holly, lovely to hear about the power of both direct observations and gaining feedback from staff to really give you insights as to where to improve. So loved hearing about the changes you've made to your Huddle. Thank you.
Great, thanks, James. Great, well, I can't see anybody else wanting to come in. So Jimmy, just a quick comment, because we do need to finish.
I just want to shout. Thank you. Just want to shout, put it in the chat. There's a horrible echo. Katie's just certified as a workshop lead. Well done, Katie. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. Well done, Katie. Congratulations. So that's really brilliant. And we've actually got NHS England's chief executive come to hear about us as an continuous improvement organisation. She's probably just arrived. And it's a real pity. We'd hoped to get her to be able to come and hear this report out. And I really wish she'd been able to, actually, because it's just been fantastically inspiring to hear. We don't just have a theoretical system that we talk about. We actually use it to solve real problems in all the areas that you're working in. So absolutely fantastic. So Holly, thank you very much. Absolutely love the improvement of an improvement method. I think that's really a brilliant thing to do. Elfie, just tremendous to think how we can get all our staff feeling they're really contributing in our councils to improvement, and to all the team on the RPIW about imaging transfers. Such an important piece of work, involves so many of us across the organisation. So well done to everybody. Thanks very much for all the hard work, and look forward to the updates in a few weeks or months' time. But we'll finish report out there. Thanks, folks.